the argument, and we're getting it a little bit at the moment, which is remember where we were 2 years ago, remember where we've come from, stop moaning. Stop moaning. Okay, we've lost some games, we've had a bad December, stop moaning. 2 years ago we were fighting off relegation, we had loads of debt, so on and so forth. We're hearing a lot of it. You heard it a lot as well when this little slide, this little dip in form started. Shut up, we're in third. Shut up, we're in fourth. Shut up, we're in fifth. I get all that, and I get the suggestion that looking back at where we were, we've done really well to get here. Totally and utterly get it. There's one problem with that though, is that speaking in such terms lacks ambition. If what you keep doing is you keep referring and dragging yourself back to the lowest common denominator and basically saying anything, there's low, anything better than that, fine, we're doing better. Don't worry that we're not there, or we're there and we're dropping down, don't worry. There is fine because we used to be right down there. It really does. It lacks ambition. And I'll tell you what else it does. It stifles debate and it stifles conversation. It's a shutdown mechanism, isn't it? Don't talk about this. Don't talk about the problems we might have in defence because we're not as crap as we used to be. Don't talk about how the team might be wrong or how we need new investment. Don't talk about that because we're not as bad as we used to be. And I sort of get the argument, but I don't like the way it sort of shuts down, I think, things that are important and things that need to be said about this team. And I think in particular, what I want to talk about is how the Premier League doesn't stay stagnant and it continues to move forward. And if you're not moving forward, you're standing still. And I don't think I've sort of got used to... I got used to being in Europe, I got used to being around near the top of the league and contesting it and playing these games. I'm not sure I want to continue to drop down and just be a level above where we were and not pass comment on it and just be eternally grateful. Basically, be eternally grateful because you're not crap. But you can do that with any job, as I've often said. If you're a bus driver, do you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't worry. Who cares if the bus isn't on time? Who cares if you didn't stop at every stop? As long as you didn't crash. Hey, it's the lowest common denominator. I say the plumbing one. Are you a good plumber? Not really, but as long as I don't cause a flood, that's the main thing. It's not. Whatever happened to excellence? Whatever happened to trying to strive to be the best that you can be at your job and actually doing those fine margins and those tweaks at the top level that allow you to compete with the best, because the best do it. As a top level sport, any sport is fine margin and is small detail. And I tell you what, the top teams do that and they get it right continually. We've had a bit of a perfect storm for the last 18 months. And a little bit like when Leicester won the Premier League. I mean, that was really good. We laughed at the time that Tottenham had come third in a 2-horse race and so on and so forth. But we've had a bit of a perfect storm. In terms of West Ham, we've handled, I think, coronavirus, the lockdown, the shutdown of the training grounds, Project Restart, no fans in the stadium. I think we handled it almost better than anyone else. I mean, we were brilliant. But that wasn't just the only factors in the perfect storm. A couple of other factors in the... Well, I say a couple, there are a few. For the last 18 months, 2 years, Tottenham have been crap. Arsenal have been crap as well. They've sorted themselves out. And I'll tell you why they've sorted themselves out. And Man United look like they're about to do it as well. It's because the Premier League doesn't stand still. Daniel Levy is a ruthless... He's not going to sit on his hands and allow Tottenham to slip into oblivion, particularly not when they've just bought £1 billion stadium. So he did something about it. He brought in a world-class manager. I've no doubt that world-class manager will be able to bring in players in the upcoming transfer window. Arsenal, it doesn't matter. There's no point in going into what... Arsenal have finally got it right. Really good decision with Aubameyang, the young players coming through. For whatever reasons, Arteta's doing a good job. They got it right. Man United, I was praying Man United hung on to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer forever. You know that, regular watchers of this channel, they didn't. I don't know how good this guy is going to be, but I'll tell you what, I think they've got a really good manager probably lined up for the summer. My point is that actually us standing still, which is more or less what we're doing, is going to make us drop down, and I think that's the case. I didn't expect us to win all games all the time, but I'm not sure what David Moyes thought about this, by the way, because at the start of this season, David Moyes referred to the fact that we had to try and get 2 more points. Why did he say 2 more points? Well, I'll tell you why he said 2 more points. He said 2 more points because last season we were 2 points behind Chelsea. Basically, he's saying 2 more points or whatever, 3 more points would have got us into the Champions League. So this season we have to find those points from somewhere. And regular watchers of this channel remember when he said it, I thought, oh, that's not right. Because what it does is it doesn't make allowances for all the things happening that I said have just happened. Doesn't make allowances. That Tottenham will be better, Arsenal will be better, Man U will be better. And more crucially, it almost gives the impression that Chelsea are going to stand still. Well, Chelsea didn't stand still. Chelsea won't stand still. Chelsea have signed a new manager. I know he's in the last season, but if they'd have gone all last season with Tuchel, they would have been challenging for the title. And they signed big players. And actually, talking about signing big players, I wasn't going to say signing big players. Let's say about signing a big player. This video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. You can click the link below and download the OneFootball app to your phone or mobile device. What the OneFootball app does is it puts all of the West Ham stories into one place for you. It literally, the OneFootball app goes around searching for all the West Ham stories from tribal football, football fancast, or the newspapers, everything, puts them all into one place. So when you click on the OneFootball app, you say, I support West Ham, gives you all the West Ham news together so you don't have to go around hunting for it. Best of all, it's free and downloadable by using the link below. So this stagnation that we're going through at the moment, I worry with a few of the things that Moyes has said, but as I referred to at the start of the video, you almost can't say anything about Moyes for the reason that I said. Don't you remember where we are? It's this black and white thing, and football's not black and white, by the way, but I think a lot of it, because of this sort of thing and because of social media, people look at it very, very black and white. When I hear people disagreeing about football online, far more vociferous than people would do one-on-one and conversationally. I don't just mean that everyone's a keyboard warrior. People just use language that they wouldn't use. Look, if you're sat down, and look, before games and after games and during games, we sit down and we all do it, and particularly at Hammers Chat, we sit down, we mix with people, we mingle with people, we drink with people, we talk about the game. What you tend not to get is what somebody might do online. Like you might turn around and say, I don't think Soufal should have played that Southampton game. I think maybe Frederick should have played it. What you won't get is when you're sharing a drink with someone, go, you absolute muppet, I can't believe it, you said that, you don't know nothing, mate. People won't do that. People just don't do that, but people will do it online. So you get that stifles a little bit of conversation as well. And what you're getting is a lot of people who are, I think, sort of referring back to that very low threshold, which is how, you can't criticise Moyes. Well, listen, I think we've got enough of a back catalogue of positive Moyes videos on Hammers Chat to be able to actually, when he gets something wrong, to call it. And I feel he's getting it a little bit wrong at the moment. He really is. And I think a lot of the time we've bought into to challenging at near the top. And actually, I think just by criticising Moyes doesn't mean you want Moyes to leave. I did it before, criticise Antonio. Oh, so you want to sell Antonio? No, I didn't say that. It's quote mining. Happens a lot. But what it does do, it stifles the bigger conversation, which is basically you're a hater. Say anything remotely critical, you're a hater. Preposterous, actually. The thing is, Moyes is building a club at the moment, and he's doing it slowly. Really, really slowly. And it's hard. It's hard. So sometimes we'll get things right, sometimes we'll get things wrong. But I don't feel that he can. I think sometimes you've got to adjust the position you're in. I think David Moyes, and he was admitted this himself, he's ahead of where he expected to be. Well, that's fine. But that doesn't mean what you've got to do is then drop back down to 10th just to get back to the status quo and then climb incrementally so as actually we're back on track with the 5-year plan. Actually, sometimes you find yourself in an unexpected position. Sometimes you find yourself in a position where, oh, okay, we've done surprisingly well. And we've capitalised on teams like Tottenham, Arsenal being in a bad position for a period of time. And I think you've got to capitalise on that. And at the moment, I feel that we're slipping down. Too many people are using the word stale. Antonio used it. And Moyes has used it. And the team looked fatigued and the team looked tired. And this is the time for injection, and we're going to find out, we're about to find out just how ambitious this new board are. Because we can see it, everybody knows it. I don't like the whole narrative of it's Moyes dithering, that's why we haven't signed any players. Nonsense. Nonsense. You don't tell me in the last 18 months, 2 years, David Moyes hasn't at least suggested a couple of players as a striker that he'd have liked. Can we go and get them? Well, that's a different matter. Okay, but that's where you have to show ambition. And the old thing before was that very much, and I said this, it was a marriage made in hell. David Moyes, the ditherer, David Sullivan, the guy that couldn't get a deal over the line. I thought it was a match made in hell. That dynamic doesn't exist anymore. Okay, David Moyes has now got at least 2 extra scouts to identify players. He's got a guy to do his not just his bidding for him, but he's take a lot of the workload in terms of bringing a player over the line in Rob Newman, and you've got this new board, and it's not just Kretinsky and his mate whose name I'm not going to slaughter again, but you've also got other members. I think the two, David Sullivan Jr. and Jack Sullivan been added to the board as well. You've now got this thing where you haven't got this omnipotent figure there, this benevolent dictator who's going to decide everything. They're now going to do things by committee. So I think actually the onus isn't just on Sullivan, it's on everybody else on that board. And they need to show their ambition now and actually show that what is the benefit of Kretinsky coming in? What is the benefit of adding these other people to the board if it's not going to yield a more fluid and a more cohesive transfer, not just strategy, because a strategy is a plan to do something. Actually, the application and the implementation of those things are really, really important. And we need to see more from that, because they are not insulated from criticism, by the way. Far from it. Far from it. The 2 reasons the board stopped getting stick. Number 1 is COVID happened and it put an end to all of that. Number 2 is David Moyes got the team playing really, really well. However, if we start dropping down the league now, and we are at the moment dropping down the league, can we arrest the slide? We might be able to. But we need a new injection of fresh players. And if it is perceived to be that actually that West Ham are dropping down because there's no investment, then the pressure will be back on the board. Promise you, 100%. And it doesn't matter that Kretinsky's in there or young Jack and young David. It doesn't matter what the composition of the board is. You're going to be getting pressure, and you may well find the Kretinsky honeymoon period is very, very short indeed. If we find out that he's got deep pockets and short arms, then there's going to be a problem building there, certainly. Because, as I said, the Premier League doesn't stand still, and I think we're about the same as we were last season, but we had a boost last season. We had Jesse Lingard coming in. I think it's fair to say that, bearing in mind the injuries, bearing in mind the fatigue levels, David Moyes has got almost everything he can out of this group of players. Are there tweaks that he could have done? Look, yes, I think there's a tweak there with Souček and the goals. I think the Masuaku thing's a bit of an issue. I think there are some tweaks there. I think there's a problem with creativity. We'll get to this in a transfer show. We've got a problem with creative midfielder. The Jesse Lingard void, if you want to call it. Is David Moyes exempt from criticism? No, I think there's some substitutions, there's some things. But by and large, I think David Moyes has got the most out of this group of players that he can. Honestly, he's almost wrung every last drop that he can. But you can't get blood out of a stone on this one. So actually he needs help. The team need help. We need competition. We need competition in places. We need better fitness, and the better fitness only comes from there being more players in the squad that David Moyes wants to use, which in turn gives the players in the squad a rest. Can't have it that you lose your centre-back and your left-back and your whole world falls apart, which is sort of the seems to be the case really at the moment. So anyway, I just think this is a really, really pivotal time, and to call those things and to highlight those things and to say those things isn't a criticism of what David Moyes has done, of what he's achieved. It doesn't make you a hater. It doesn't make it wrong that you've noticed that we're slipping down the league, and how dare you say it, because you know what, once upon a time we were crap. Anyone can say that about anything. You should be happy with a horrible meal I've served up at the dinner table, because remember, 2 weeks ago we had beans on toast. It's crap, it's low expectation, and I hate it, actually, absolutely hate it, and I find it completely and utterly stifling. So I think you should have debate. I think this should be discussed, and I think we should look at the things and reasons that we can go forward. I think the lack of journalism, and proper journalism, by the way, in David Moyes' press conferences is a massive hindrance. I don't find the questions being asked are the right ones at all. Are the right ones? I think anyone's asking the question, and this is the problem when you get generic journalists in there who. Someone might be working at West Ham one week and then they might be working at Aston Villa the next. They've got an overview. I want a journalist to go in there and ask David Moyes specifically. We've got a problem with Masuaku. What is the situation there? Why have you not dealt with anything? Why is Longelo not getting a game? Why Ben Johnson not play at left back? Those are the questions I would ask after that one. The bigger questions. What is the situation with Thomas Souček? Can we find a way to get him back in goal-scoring positions? We were scoring a lot of goals with crosses coming over and him getting headers. He's not getting into those positions. Why is it happening? Is there an answer to it? Are you now turning him into a defensive midfielder? There's a lot of questions that need answering, which only really, I feel, I'm not putting myself forward for the job, by the way, but that I feel only West Ham fans can answer. And I think that's a bit of a problem when you have a national press stuck in a press room there, just not going to ask the tough questions. And it's not just about tough questions. I think had West Ham fans been there able to ask Moyes questions, I think David Moyes would have been getting an awful lot of praise and a lot of feel good stuff over recently. But I do think his fingers off the pulse a little bit with this. Sorry, I'm rambling on a little bit. He mentioned on the Southampton game, he said the stadium's half empty, that the players need to feed off the crowd. Maybe it's a COVID thing. Hopefully that will come back into it and the fans will be able to come back into the stadium and support the team. The suggestion was that COVID had kept people on, just somebody in a press conference when he was doing that turn around and say, "Excuse me, David, there's no trains today, mate." Why would he know? Look, they get a coach everywhere and they've all got drivers and coaches and things like that. Why would David Moyes know that the trains ain't running? But it's little things where I feel he's not quite got his ear to the ground. Actually, someone to say that, no, mate, there's no trains today. So, this is why the stadium is half empty. And little things like that, which just indicate I'd like a little bit more. Funny, I think they said fan representation. In the football governance thing, fan representation on the board. I wouldn't mind a little bit of fan representation in the press room, actually. But anyway, as I say, not me. I wouldn't get in there. And to be fair, I'd have been too drunk to have been in there at the Southampton game anyway. But anyway, digressed a little bit at the end. The point is, the Premier League does not stand still. It keeps moving forward, and it ain't waiting for West Ham.
Goldie, Brady, Sully, Horsevich, Jack the Junior, Sully, Goldie's mate, Kretinsky, Horsinski, and Jack Jr. Don't forget about Goldie's son-in-law,